got the references now with me.
It's
Then I was
Yes.
just speaking from my memory and if one or few references. Now I've got everything covered about this hadith. Right? But before that, I would like to stop here and we'll
Yes.
come to this. I would like to inform the audience who saw me yesterday a bit agitated or disappointed. What was it which made me this? It was simply because from his the questioner's, our guest's previous attitude, I had received the impression that he is a genuine inquirer, not the one who debates the text of the debate for the sake of debate, wants to understand, and I accepted that. And I praised him for this genuine interest in truth, and I said, if that is it, then you will find satisfaction only in Ahmadiyyat, because God will lead you to hell. Yesterday there was a transformation in his attitude which surprised me and also hurt me, because I didn't expect that of him. The reason why is simply this, that I had already spoken on the issue of Khatam al-Nabiyyin with reference to the Holy Quran, with reference to the verses which are muhkamat, not mutashabihat. The verse also I mentioned, the verse of Misaq al-Nabi. I also the word of the verse in Surah Ahzab, which speaks of Khatam al-Nabuwwat. It also speaks of a Misaq al-Nabi taken from Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that Misaq al-Nabi speaks of a prophet coming after you, who is following you, who supports you. You will support him. This is the Misaq. So how can you translate the ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin regardless of what has been clearly mentioned elsewhere in the Holy Quran? Then I also had spoken of such ahadith which are acceptable, which belong to s.a.s. I also mentioned al-Muslim, where 4 times Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned so that Masih to come will be Nabiullah. So did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam not understand the meaning of Khatam al-Nabuwwah? Now, leaving all these muhkamat alone, he picked up one hadith which I had quoted. Now suppose there are 100 pillars supporting the roof and one is not enough. Remove it, doesn't make any difference. So instead of taking that attitude, yes, as far as the Holy Quran is concerned, you're right, I have nothing to say against it. As far as those ahadith are concerned which are in Sahih, I accept. But leave that out, it's unnecessary. That would have been the attitude against which I could have no objection whatsoever. You may reject or accept, but because one argument is weak, if it is weak, you can't ignore the whole, the full set of arguments which are founded in the Quran. So I was expecting him to be influenced by the Quran far more, and those ahadiths which make the issue very clear. It is only those people who want a way out, who go to the weakest. Even if the weak argument is removed, it does not make any difference whatsoever to the main issue. If there are 5 more legs added to this table and they're all removed, still it will stand, because the 4 pillars are strong. So the 4 verses of the Holy Quran which I quoted, they are the main pillars on which we depend for our interpretation of Khatam al-Nabiyyin. This was addition. But to say that this hadith is absolutely small something which is absolutely false or definitely false, it is wrong. A mullah, we call it mullah, but mashayikh, one of the mashayikh has challenged us before on this. There was a munazara held in Sri Lanka, and one of the mullahs challenged, this is all your fake, you have made it, and I challenge it, you can't bring a true sanad. So it gave us an opportunity to make a research. here is the gist of the research which I want to present to the audience so that they may not have received some wrong impression about our references. First of all, Shia Tafsir Safi, which I mentioned, Surah Ahzab, Ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin, in this it is written, في المناقب عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أنا خاتم الأنبياء وأنت يا علي خاتم الأوصياء. Here the word was used. Imam Manavi in his book Kunuzul Haqaiq quotes the same hadith. Hadith Khairul Khalaiq, Hadith Khairul Khalaiq. This is the book name, and this is published in Misr. Misr, Juz Awwal, page 71, contains the same hadith. Firdausul Akhbar, another source, writes about this. And there, the book which mentioned this hadith earlier, in its earlier publication, had not said Khatam al-Awsiya, but had said Khatam al-Awliya, with the one which we present. So when we trace the hadith, in the recent books it was found to be Khatam al-Awsiya, but in the same book, in earlier editions, it was Khatam al-Awliya. So that is why I also said Khatam al-Awliya instead of Khatam al-Awsiya. Kitab, book, Manaqib Ali Abi Talib. Allama Abu Jafar Rashiduddin Muhammad bin Ali bin Shahr Ashub al-Sarawi al-Mazandarani, Mutawaffa 588. He is one of the greatest Shia ulama. The full rawayat which he quotes is An Sahl ibn Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Sawar, Muhammad ibn Sawar, An Malik ibn Dinarin, An Hasan al-Basri, An Anasin, fi hadithin tawilin sabitu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yuqulu Ana khatamul anbiya'i wa anta ya Ali khatamul awliya. Manaqib Ali Abi Talib, Juz, Part 3, page 261, Matba Ilmiya. The same hadith is quoted in another Shia Urdu book, Umdatul Bayan, and the same words, Khatamul Awliya, are used in that. Now coming to the sehat of hadith, whether it is healthy or not unhealthy. We have traced back all the rawat which have been quoted right from the beginning. And the opinion of the ulama of Ahl Sunnah about these rawat, I am going to read before you. The first Ravi is Hazrat Anas, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who is considered by all those who have worked on the science of hadith, that he is one of the best. Hazrat Anas, when he reports, he is supposed to be one of the most reliable and the best. For this, see Tehzeeb al-Tehzeeb, volume 1, page 329, as Hazrat Shahabuddin Ahmad ibn Hajar Asqalani is one of the greatest authorities, if not the greatest, on the reliability of narrators. So he counts Hazrat Anas to be among the very best. The second is Hazrat Hasan Basri. About him, this is the considered opinion of the specialist in this work, that if Hazrat Imam Hasan Basri reports his hadith from someone which reports it from Rasulullah sallam, then he is most reliable. If the Ravi in between is not reported, then although he is reliable, there is no doubt about it, Hazrat Hasan Basri is the most reliable. But because of the unknown Ravi, we may think that somebody else may have invented it. But this is reported. Hazrat Hasan Basri reports from Hazrat Anas. So, but what better and more sahih line of narrators could you choose? For this comment, see Tehzeeb al-Tehzeeb, Volume 2, page 231 to 33. Again, this riwayat is musnad. Musnad means where each report is connected with the reporter previously and then go on and it's in full line. The third Ravi is Malik bin Dinar. In this hadith, the line, Hazrat Malik bin Dinar. Hazrat Imam Nasai has counted him among the most reliable people. Ibn Sa'd says that he says that from Malik bin Dinar, there are not many ahadith which are reported. But whenever he reports, he is reliable. There is no doubt about it. Again, Tehzeeb al-Tehzeeb, Volume 10, page 13. The fourth Ravi is Muhammad bin Sawwar. He belongs to a category where about him there is no opinion regarding his general character and conduct, but he is a known man against whom nothing is written. So this category of rawat is called majhul. But there are two types of majhul. One majhul means you do not mention the name, and somebody unknown, whether he lived or not we don't know, is reported, so that majhul is rejected. No teacher of this science or no allama would accept this. But if the man is known to be a man existing in that time, as he is, Muhammad bin Sawwar, then majhul only means that we have not found anything either in favor of him or against him. So there is no reason to doubt him. So when the whole line is so powerful, and as I have just quoted, then whether it is in Sahih or not, it is immaterial. This is one of the most well-reported ahadith, and this is reported quite early. The point which I have been trying to impress upon him repeatedly is this, that none of the Muslim scholars objected against the subject matter of this hadith. Why did they not? So what do you mean this explains the word khatam wrongly? So we reject it. Not one. So if the ulama of today decide to reject it, it's up to them. They are answerable to God. But here is my case, full case of the rawat, and this is a well-supported, well-reliable, most reliable hadith, although not reported by Sahih.
لقد ذكر أمير المؤمنين.
References are in there when you need. Have you written them?
Not all of them.
Okay, consult this.
المهدي نبي الله نبي. You want this one in Muslim Ibn Majah?
No, Ibn al-Muslim. In Hadith al-Muslim, in one hadith, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says or informs us that the Masih who is to come in the future, not of the past, he will do this, he will do that, he will do this. It's a long hadith. 4 times he says Nabiullah, Nabiullah, Nabiullah. Not about the Nabi which has passed. Prophesying his advent in the future, he repeatedly uses the word Nabiullah, Nabiullah. I have got this, I'll read the relevant portion. But the second hadith, which I also quoted, and he didn't take notice of that, that is also from Sahih. Lam yakum baini wa bainahu nabiyyun. And again, laysa baini wa bainahu nabiyyun. On both sides it is covered. prior to Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was no Nabi between Jesus and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And after him, Laysa Baini, when he mentions the future Nabi, then he says, Laysa Baini wa Bainahu Nabiyun. This is again from Abu Dawud, Muslim Abu Dawud. Ibn Majah, among the Sahih, nobody can deny that. This hadith I also had quoted. Law Asha Hazrat Ibrahim, Lakana Siddiqan Nabiyya. And every scholar knows that Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's son, died after the verse Khatam al-Nabiyyin, not before it. When he had died after the verse of Khatam al-Nabiyyin, if Khatam al-Nabiyyin meant last of the prophets, how could he say that if Ibrahim had lived, he would become a prophet of God? He was told clearly by God, no prophet according to others. If Khatam means last, then God had categorically told him that after you there is no prophet. And when his son dies, he says, if he had lived, he would be a prophet. He should have said, if that is the meaning, if he had lived 1,000 years, still he would not be a prophet. La Nabiya Ba'di. But that is what he did not say. Now, on this hadith, I'll return in explanation. But other hadiths which are quoted in favor of the meaning La Nabiya Ba'di, La Nabiya Ba'dahu, is one which says Ana Akhirul Anbiya. That is also a hadith which is presented in opposition to us. That all right, if Badi means that and that, what about Akhir? Akhir also has the same meaning. And here I quote not a Shia hadith from Muslim. The use of the word Akhir by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Inni Akhirul Anbiya'i wa inna masjidi Akhirul Masajid. If that bracket is not acceptable, Ana Khatamul Anbiya wa Anta Khatamul Awliya, what about this? Inni Akhirul Anbiya wa inna masjidi Akhirul Masajid. Is there no mosque ever built after him? Such hadiths are plentiful. We quote them from Sahih, and this is Muslim. And if somebody shuts his eyes to all this evidence and picks up fault with one hadith like this, naturally I should be surprised, genuinely surprised. You understand the point? Please now. وَيُحْصَرُ
ويحصر نبي الله عيسى وأصحابه حتى يكون رأس الثور لأحدهم خيرا من 100 دينار لأحدكم اليوم فيرغب نبي الله عيسى وأصحابه إلى الله تعالى
يرغب in future, not رغبة.
فيرسل الله تعالى عليهم النغف في رقابهم فيصبحون فرسا كموت نفس واحدة.
This is like AIDS, you know, the disease which will strike, and the enemy of Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam would be, is described here. You understand?
يهبط نبي الله عيسى وأصحابه إلى الأرض فلا يجدون في الأرض موضع شبر إلا ملأه زهمهم ونتنهم فيرغب نبي الله عيسى وأصحابه إلى الله تعالى فيرسل الله تعالى طيرا كأعناق البخت فتحملهم فتطرحهم.
The enemies will be not killed by Isa, but by Allah. In every time, his enemy will be defeated by God himself. So no qital. Again, read the remaining after that. Allah will send wahi to him.
ثم يرسل الله عز وجل مطرا لا يكن منه بيت مدر ولا وبر فيغسل الأرض حتى يتركها كالزلفة ثم
This is not relevant. وہ کہاں ہے باقی وہ ہاں before this لا يدان إلى أحد من خلالهم this
إذ أوحى الله تعالى إلى عيسى
أوحى الله تعالى إلى عيسى وهي will also come, you know.
إني قد أخرجت عبادا لي لا يدان لأحد بقتالهم فحرز عبادي إلى الطور ويبعث الله يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب
إلى الطور. So that also explains that the Messiah, when he would come, he would be told by Allah himself that do not fight this enemy with sword, because I have created them so powerful that no man has been given two hands to fight this enemy with sword. Allah will do it. You take shelter in the mountains and pray. And through the prayer, this will be done, and all the remaining part of these supports this. But this is incidental. Now I won't interrupt, please continue. The point I raised was that even in that book, which said Khatamul Awsiya, in earlier edition, we have found it was Khatamul Awliya, and the second was mistake, the first one was the right.
Is tafsir al-Safi or tafsir al-Kafi?
The first I quoted al-Kafi there. उसमें काफी लिखा हुआ था. अरे Safi, I'm sorry, as-Safi.
Tafsir al-Safi. Because the Shia has al-Kafi.
This is as-Safi we're talking about. This is. I'll tell you. You read the reference. The first reference of Khatam al-Anta Yali Khatam al-Awliya from Sahal ibn Abdullah bin Muhammad ibn Sawar and Malik ibn Dinar and Hasan al-Basri and Anasin. This is mentioned in Manaqib Ali Abi Talib, Juz 3, Part 3, page 261, Matba Ilmiya Biqum. The same hadith is also mentioned in Umdatul Bayan, which is an Urdu book published in Matba Yusufi, Delhi, and this is again Jild 2, page 284, published in 1302. I'm just reading it instead of you. There is no need of any translation after that. The people will note that. After that I said Hazrat Allama Shahabuddin Ahmad ibn Hajar Asqalani has mentioned his opinion about the Ravi, the Ruwat mentioned in Hadith, and he praises them with the best of praises. So the most reliable. So if a scholar like Hazrat Ibn Hajar Asqalani, who is the last word on the reliability of Rawat, if he says they are reliable, who can say they are not? The only one thing I mentioned was that in one place the Muhammad bin Sawar is not, Muhammad bin Sawar is known to be Siqa and Saduq. Again, Tahzib al-Tahzib. So all the Rawat are praised so highly that you can't praise any Ravi better than these words. No jara, no sort of allegation against them of kizab or anything. Instead they are called Saduq. There is only one Ravi whose name is Sahal bin Abdullah, who is mentioned as Majhul, not in the wrong sense but in a different sense. And on this you can read Mizanul I'tidal al-Dhahabi, volume 1st, page 430, published in Matba Suada, Misr. Right? In this book it is clearly mentioned that we call him majhul only in the sense that no one has either said anything in favor or against it. So when the whole line is so powerful, this does not make any difference in the riwayat. But if still somebody says no, I said okay, go ahead, remove this pillar, but that was just an additional support. My argument rests on ayat al-Holy Quran and those ahadith which I have quoted there. They are all from s.a.s. So do whatever you can with those verses and these ahadith. This ilm is called Asma'ur Rijal. So Hazrat Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani is the last word in Asma'ur Rijal. All the scholars in the world respect him for this. I'm not quoting ABC somebody. Please. Marufan, as far as his person is concerned. Majhulun only that no definite research was carried out about him, whether he was right or wrong. But nothing against was said, so why should we reject him?
Yes.
If he was a wrong man, something against also should have been found. In his case, there is no such thing.
Finished.
Ibn Majah or Asha Ibrahim. Have you mentioned it?
Yes, I have.
Yes,
I have mentioned it.
Mention it. Now I come to a very interesting discussion on this hadith. Lord, all are here? नहीं है ही नहीं वो वाला, इसमें कहाँ है वो? बोला आज कारी ने जो बहस उठाई हुई है, गिव मी दैट. ठीक है. You know, this hadith has been discussed by great ulama of the past on both sides. Some say that he might have said it because God killed him or made him die, lest he should become a prophet if he lived. And that was the hikmah or the wisdom of having that young child die, because God had decided no prophet would come, so if he grew up, he would certainly become a prophet. Some scholars have interpreted it like this. Some others have rejected it as absolutely untenable. This is impossible for any sane man to accept this, because how can one snatch the nubuwwah from Allah? If God has decided that I will not send a prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if he had 1,000 sons grown up to majority, they could not get nubuwwah from Allah by force. Nubuwwah is wahbiyah, not kasbiyah. So anything which is not earned, it is granted. How could he be a prophet of Allah if he had lived to a mature age? So Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not have said it, unless he meant something else. So here some scholars said this hadith is not, either this is munakhis of Khatam an-Nabiyyin, or we have failed to understand the meaning of verse Khatam an-Nabiyyin. This is the discussion which I am going to quote now. Hazrat Mullah Ali Qari, if one of the most famous ulama of Ahl Sunnah, he says, and he is an Imam of Fiqh Hanfiya in fact, in his famous book Mawzu'at-e-Kabir, page 58-59, he says, فَلَا يُنَاقِضُ قَوْلَهُ خَاتَمَ النَّبِيِّينَ is al-mana annahu la yati nabiyyan yansakhu millatahu wa lam yakun min ummatihi. The meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin is simply this, that no prophet will ever come. Who will do this? Yati nabiyyun yansakhu millatahu wa lam yakun min ummatihi. They are the true conditions. Now, this is exactly what we believe about Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam. Who says he has cancelled even a jot of the Holy Quran or any Sharia? 100% obedient. And he is from his ummah. But what the mullahs believe is against this. Well, the mashayikh say, they say, in the ummah no one can come, but from the other ummah of Moses somebody can come after the death of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this becomes very clear and obvious. Allama Shahabuddin Ahmad Hajar al-Hasimi, Khatamat al-Fuqaha wal-Muhaddithin, Mutawaffa 973, in his Fatawa al-Hadithiyya fi Khalifa Rasul Ali ibn Talib radhiyallahu anhu, he has written, Hazrat Ibrahim Mutawaffa 9 Hijri, Fazand Rasul इंतकाल कर गए, तो हज़रत सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने उनकी वालदा मारिया को बुला भेजा. वो आई, उन्हें गुस्ल दिया, कफन बनाया. रसूल करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने बाहर तशरीफ लाए और लोग भी आपके साथ थे. हुजूर ने उन्हें दफन किया और फिर अपना हाथ उनकी कब्र में दाखिल किया और फरमाया, अमा वल्लाहि इन्नहु लनबियुन नबियुब्नु नबिय्यन. And other hadith doesn't say if he had lived. The other version says, by God, I swear by Allah, that he is a prophet and son of a prophet. So, but I don't quote this because I think its sanad is not as reliable as the sanad of the previous hadith. That hadith is accepted beyond doubt by everybody. So that is the point. Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew better the meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin. How could he forget the verse Khatam al-Nabiyyin and inform us about his son? If he had lived, he would have become the prophet of God. It's impossible. If somebody tells you, after this nothing is going to happen, can you say ever, no, if that had happened, this should happen? It's possible. So this is the last I wanted to say on this issue. I have taken time, I know. But this is the television we have made just for this purpose. The whole world of Ahmadiyyat is up for sacrifices to present our case so openly and clearly that everybody should understand all the aspects. We invite guests to benefit, but not for debates. We do not invite guests to occupy our time. But still, out of courtesy, we give them time to give their argument, if at all any, or raise an objection, and of that we are not afraid. We repeat the allegations of the non-Ahmadi ulama or mashayikh from their books here in this program repeatedly. If we were afraid of those objections, why should we do that? It's not that case. But the point to be remembered is, this is a forum which we have created ourselves, because all other paths and means of reaching the Muslim common people had been stopped for us. They had been obstructed. How could we tell the whole world of Arabia, for instance, where even our literature cannot go across the veil, across the barrier of the customs, etc. Because they stop and tear it and throw it away. So when God has given us this opportunity, why should we not? There's no reason why. We should not take up issues in such detail that everyone understands every point about it. So if we invite an honorable guest of ours, it does not mean that we are going to hold debates with him. We give him opportunity. If he's interested, he's most welcome. He can come and sit and jot down his objections, and then no debate. When I answer, then our guest has no right to interfere and stop me before interrupt my flow and say you have taken too long. Yes, this is why I'm here. The time belongs to Ahmediyya. This is our chance. We have created ourselves with the help of Allah to reach the whole world. So if I had decided to hold a debate with certain rules, of course I will be limited to my time. You are all here. Have you been given chance to speak? Only when you raise your hand, when I permit, then you do. So please have patience with me. Our guests are most honorable, but they should also realize that they are guests. And they should also remember one portion of the Holy Quran, where Moses, when he traveled with a man who was specially granted knowledge by Allah, he warned him, "Lan tastati'a ma'iya sabra." For once, he forgave. For the second time, he forgave. For the third time, he said, "Hadha firaqu baini wa bainakum." I do not want to use the third time in relation to our most honorable guest. So you should remember these principles which are mentioned in the Holy Quran. Please. The translation. Now I'll explain. He says that it is wrong to say that it has a tanaquz, a contradiction. It could have only contradiction if the meaning of the word khatam was last. We don't accept that meaning at all. The meaning we accept is this, that last of the Prophet in the sense that after him none can be born who would cancel even a jot of his Sharia. His Sharia is the last. None can come who is not born in his ummah and yet becomes Nabi. So anyone who is born in his ummah, like Ibrahim alayhi salam was, that's his son I mean, and he could never change even a jot of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is not, this concept is within the meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin, so it does not yunaqiz the Hadith Ibrahim. Now got it?
Yes.
He doesn't say tata, he says min ummatihi.
Min ummati Sayyidina.
There are two different things. The ulama say Isa will come and become tata ummatihi. Mullah Ali Qari doesn't say that. He said he should be born in the ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah, not an outsider. Now, the time is already over. We'll meet inshallah tomorrow once again. So, having said what I said, I still feel obliged to ask forgiveness, I guess, if inadvertently he had felt that I was angry or I didn't respect him. I respected him yesterday, I respect him today and tomorrow as the most honored guest. But I have explained why I felt so disappointed. Disappointment is not sul khulq. Disappointment is helplessness. It is not because that I lost patience. I was amazed. I couldn't believe my ears. That the gentleman who was yesterday telling me he had come only for the sake of true research, he suddenly, changed his color.
No, I did not. I'm sorry, Your Eminence. I did not change my honor. You give me permission to.
Not now. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, because I have to comment.
Please do. I'll explain.
Inshallah.
Take permission first,
Yes.
and then speak.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
It is not because I am high.
No, it's not that.
I am humble. But
said
this is a
that,
platform
Yes.
which has been built by Jamaat Ahmadiyya with the grace of Allah,
Yes.
with immense financial sacrifice.
Yes.
All over the world. People, the ladies have given their ornaments so that we could build such a thing. So I'm responsible to them. If I permit such interruptions, they will not like it. They say, we have offered sacrifices, why don't you explain yourself? This is your time. But out of courtesy, out of respect, I also will permit him from time to time to express his opinion. But he should follow the decorum. He should first ask, and when I'm finished, only then she should ask, not before that. Right? Tomorrow, I'll give you time. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah.
Jazakumullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.